is a certain comfort in following the rules. In the world of personal finance, there is one rule that stands above almost all others. It's the advice you've heard from your parents, your colleagues, and certainly your HR department. Max out your 401k. Do it every year. Set it and forget it. And I want to start by saying that is pretty good advice. If you are saving money for your future, you're already winning. You are building the discipline and you are building security. That is something to be proud of. But as we move through different stages of life, good advice sometimes needs to evolve into optimal advice. Imagine you spend 30 years diligently filling up one specific bucket with water. You fill it to the brim, but when you finally get to the destination, retirement, you realize that bucket is incredibly heavy, difficult to pour, and surprisingly expensive to use. We aren't going to bash the 401k today. It's a powerful tool, but we are going to ask a very important question. Is it the only tool you should be using? Today, we're going to explore why saving more isn't always the same thing as planning better, and how a few subtle shifts now can give you massive freedom later. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. So let's look at the traditional narrative we are all sold. It goes like this. You put money into your 401k or traditional IRA today. The government gives you a tax deduction right now, which feels great. The money grows tax-deferred for decades. Then you retire, withdraw the money, and live happily ever after. It sounds like an unbeatable deal. You get the tax break, the growth, and usually an employer match. But there is a distinction here that often gets lost in the fine print. Tax-deferred does not mean tax-free. It simply means taxes later. Think of it like this. The government is giving you a tax break on the seed, but they plan to tax the entire harvest. If you are incredibly successful at saving, which I know many of you are, that harvest might be quite large. And depending on what tax rates look like in the future, later might look quite different than you expect. Today, we're going to gently walk through 3 common myths about retirement income. We'll look at the tax bracket myth, the forced income problem, and the liquidity trap. Then I'm going to share a waterfall strategy that creates what we call tax diversification. It's about giving your future self options, not just a big account balance. And before we dive in, if you like honest, calm conversations about money without hype or fear-mongering, click the subscribe button and turn on your notifications. That way you never miss tips that could save you thousands of dollars. Let's start with the biggest assumption that people make, and that's a logical one. The logic goes, I am in a high tax bracket now while I'm earning a salary. When I retire, I won't have a salary, so I will automatically be in a lower tax bracket. Therefore, I should defer all my taxes until then. That used to be true for almost everyone, but for the modern diligent saver, it's often not the case anymore. Here's the reality check. In retirement, your income isn't zero. It's a stack of different sources. Let's build your future tower. At the bottom, the foundation, you likely have Social Security benefits. On top of that, maybe you have a pension, if you're lucky, or perhaps real estate income. Then you have dividends and interest from your investments that pay out every year, whether you spend them or not. When you stack all of those base layers up, you might find that your floor income already fills up the standard deduction and the lower tax brackets. Now you need money for groceries, travel, or a new car. You go to your 401k to withdraw money. Since that money sits on top of the stack, every single dollar you pull out is taxed at your highest marginal rate. You aren't pulling it out at an average rate. You are pulling it out at the top rate, your top rate. If this section is making sense, take a moment to hit that like button. It helps YouTube know that people want real, honest money advice. Furthermore, we have to look at the history of tax rates. Right now, we are at historically low rates. If tax rates revert to historical averages in 10 or 20 years, you might be deferring taxes from a known 22 or 24% rate today into a future rate that could be higher. The myth is that your lifestyle drops so much that your taxes plummet. The reality for many successful savers and most of my clients is that you want your lifestyle to stay the same, which means your income needs to stay the same. If your income stays the same, the tax rates go up, the math of deferring everything doesn't look as good as it did on paper. This brings us to the second piece of the puzzle. This is where the traditional 401k changes from a hero into a bit of a challenge to manage. It involves something called the RMD, the required minimum distribution. Basically, the IRS made a deal with you. You entered into a partnership. They said, we let you delay taxes for decades, but eventually we want our cut. Currently, once you hit your early 70s, the government forces you to take money out of your traditional 401k. Here is the kicker. They force you to withdraw it, whether you need the cash or not. You do not get to say no, unless you want to pay a large penalty. If you have been incredibly successful and saved a massive amount, say $2 or $3 million in your pre-tax 401k, those forced withdrawals can be substantial. We are talking about forced income of $80,000, $100,000 or more per year. Well, you might say having too much money sounds like a good problem to have, and it is, but it creates a domino effect known as the tax torpedo. That extra forced income is taxed as ordinary income. It increases your adjusted gross income, which can cause up to 85% of your Social Security checks to become taxable. If your taxable income goes too high, it triggers IRMA. That stands for Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. Click here to watch that video. It's a surcharge on your Medicare premiums. So you end up in a situation where you say, I did everything right. I saved all the money, but you feel squeezed because you lost control over when and how you pay taxes. You're forced to realize income even if it pushes you into a tax bracket that you were trying to avoid. This is why we say the goal isn't just to have the biggest account balance. The goal is to have the most spendable money after the IRS takes their share. If you're following along, comment below tax control. If this is a new perspective for you, we'd love to see you in the comments. I read every single comment and it really helps me understand what you want to see from me next. There's one more factor before we get to the solution, and that is flexibility. You lock money into a 401k, it is generally locked up until age 59 and a half. Yes, I know there's some exceptions like the rule of 55 or step plans. I've made videos about that, but generally speaking, the money is behind a wall. But life happens before 59. Maybe you want to retire early at 50 or 55. Maybe you want to start a business or consult part-time. Maybe you want to buy a vacation home or pay for a child's wedding. If 100% of your net worth is trapped in a 401k pre-tax, accessing that money is expensive. You face penalties and immediate income taxes. This is where the taxable brokerage account comes in. Many people are afraid of brokerage accounts because they lack the tax deduction, but they have a superpower, liquidity. A brokerage account acts as a bridge. It bridges the gap between when you stop working and when you can access your retirement funds penalty-free. Furthermore, the taxes in a brokerage account are often lower. If you hold an investment for more than a year, you pay long-term capital gains tax. For many people, that rate is 15%. For some, it's even zero. Compare that to a 401k withdrawal, which could be taxed at 22, 24, or 32%. Having money in a bucket that you can access at any age for any reason without asking the IRS for permission, that's true financial freedom. So, does this mean you should stop contributing to your 401k? No, but it means you should consider changing the order in which you save. Think of it as a waterfall strategy. You fill one bucket until it's optimal, then let the water spill over into the next. Step 1, the match. If your employer offers a match, you contribute enough to get that match. That's 100% return on your money instantly. Do not walk away from free money. Step 2, the triple tax advantage. If you're eligible for a health savings account, consider that next. It's tax deductible in, tax-free growth, and tax-free out for medical expenses. It's the most efficient account in the tax code, and I recommend that you save money into this account like a retirement account and access that money when it comes time to retire, when statistically your medical bills will be higher. Step 3, tax-free growth. Now, look at a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k. You pay taxes now, but the money grows tax-free and comes out tax-free forever. This is your hedge against future tax hikes. It protects you from the required minimum distribution problems we talked about earlier because Roth IRAs don't have RMDs during your lifetime. Step 4, flexibility. Once you have a healthy baseline in retirement accounts, let the water flow into a standard taxable brokerage account. This is your freedom fund. It's the money that lets you make big life changes before age 60. The ideal scenario for a retiree isn't having $2 million in just one bucket. It's having money in 3 different buckets: tax-deferred, which is traditional 401k, tax-free, like a Roth, and taxable brokerage. When you have all 3, you can decide which lever to pull each year to manage your tax bill. You can engineer your income to stay in a lower tax bracket. That's what we call tax diversification. If you want a full example of the exact contribution order for different income levels, comment waterfall below and I'll make that video next. The main takeaway I want you to leave with is this: more saving is usually good, but better planning is best. Don't just operate on autopilot because everyone says max it out. Look at your specific situation. Ask yourself, do I need more tax breaks today, or do I need more tax control tomorrow? There is no single right answer, but there is a right answer for you. If you want to keep building your financial IQ with us and learn more about how to construct these portfolios, make sure you're subscribed. We release videos like this every week to help you navigate your financial journey with confidence. Now, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. When you look at your savings right now, are you heavy on the traditional 401k side, or have you started building up your Roth and brokerage buckets? Let's start a conversation down below. And if you haven't already, tap that subscribe button and ring that bell so you don't miss the next video where we break down the exact waterfall for every income level. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.